It was all very different in America. In 1987, Seattle became the birthplace of the coffee culture that was to spread around the world. A local store called Starbucks started expanding around this time. Scott and Ali Svenson are Seattle-born and bred, and they loved Starbucks.
You have to understand, growing up in Seattle and growing up with Starbucks, where you get used to that as a lifestyle, where the average Starbucks customer goes to Starbucks 18 times a month.
In 1990, the Svensons moved to London and found it tough without their daily shot.
The very first morning Ali was in London, she walked me to work. We walked across Hyde Park and we stopped at this little Italian cafe because she wanted to get a coffee. And I was trying to explain to her that the coffee experience was going to be different from what she had just come from. And she, she came walking out with 2 styrofoam cups stacked on top of one another, which she had to talk the people into going into the back room to get a styrofoam cup because she wanted to take it away. And it was just a disaster.
A double latte.
Within a few years, Ali was able to get the takeaway coffee she wanted. That was because in April 1995, Scott and Ali used their local know-how and opened their own cafe, the UK's first American West Coast-style coffee bar. And guess what they called it?
We opened in April. It worked in about 5 minutes.
We tinkered with that through that very hot summer, and at the end of that year, we opened 2 more in December. One in Canary Wharf and one in a Waterstones in Cambridge.
Thank you very much indeed.
It was the beginning of the UK's coffee revolution. Within a year, one store had become 14, and by 1997, Scott and Ali had 49 Seattle coffee stores around the country. But soon, they weren't the only ones chasing the coffee buck. By then, 2 more bright young American business graduates had joined the UK coffee market.
There was a fantastic revolutionary buzz about it.
Felt like a gold rush. Every moment, there seemed to be another concept starting.
It was in the press, and it was fun. And there was almost a collegial, I think, atmosphere amongst the players.
But these 3 young go-getters weren't going to have it all their own way. Starbucks, the godfather of the coffee industry, had watched the British coffee market closely since the Seattle Coffee Company started up.
This is a very, very important day for all of us at Starbucks.
The man who created the empire was Howard Schultz. It was his idea to take the coffee from his local store, mix it with a lot of milk, a relaxed environment, and 1,000 flavors. He sold the concept first around America and then around the world.
Double decaf Americano.
Double tall breve, 1 raw sugar latte, and a double tall breve latte.
It was to become the concept that launched thousands of stores.
I want to be able to be one of those rare companies that is ubiquitous. We believe we have an opportunity, like very few other consumer brands and very few other retailers, to expand and bring the Starbucks stores and experience in coffee to hopefully every major market in the world.
By 1998, Starbucks had 250 stores outside the States. They decided to take the quick route into the UK and approached Scott Svenson.
It came down to Howard Schultz and I sitting in a restaurant in London and having a philosophical conversation and ultimately reaching across the table and shaking hands. We walked out, gave each other a hug as he was heading off to the airport, and that was it.
Scott and Ali were about to become the first and only people in the UK coffee business to make real money.
We received just under 2 million shares of Starbucks stock at the time. It was in the region of £50 million.
With the arrival of Starbucks, the coffee market in Britain was to change forever.
Starbucks, in many respects, have been the McDonald's, if you like, of the coffee bar market. And their strategy has been one of quick rollout, market share, and because they're owned by a giant US business, then of course they don't have to make profits in this country.
Rollout is the key principle of Starbucks' global growth. It means buying up new high street sites as quickly as possible. Over the next 5 years, coffee shop growth resembled a caffeine-fuelled monopoly game. Starbucks grew at a frightening rate, opening on average 5 stores every month in the UK. By 1999, they had 95 stores, and by 2001, that had grown to 250.
Unfortunately, everybody had a similar idea that the only way to succeed would be to chase Starbucks.
Going head-to-head for high street space meant rental prices spiralled out of control.
There are some crazy examples of prices being paid for outlets in the high streets.
This space in Leicester Square was part of a 2-store rental deal for Starbucks, costing £1.5 million, and everyone else had to keep up.
There certainly was a period when there was some overheating. Rents were going sky high, people putting stores down by the day.
In the land grab, we ended up acquiring sites that, because of the competition or because of the high rents, have not been profitable for us.
You've got this cannibalization effect where each coffee bar, when you open a coffee bar, all you do is take away 1/3 of the sales from the other 3 operators on your street.
As the competition struggled, Starbucks kept running these expensive sites at a loss, prompting accusations that they were using their muscle to unfairly squeeze out the opposition.
They almost strangle the market, or suffocate the market, I suppose.
But Starbucks say that all that matters is that the customer is happy.
It's always tempting to point to the leader and invoke the tall poppy syndrome. But the reality is you can only become the leader by doing the right thing by consumers.